Let's talk about auditing. Now, I know what you're thinking, but what if I told you that auditing holds some of the most powerful secrets for business strategy? Seriously. It's a topic most of us totally misunderstand, so let's crack it open.
We all have this mental image, right? The super serious inspector with a giant clipboard whose only job is to find what you did wrong. It's a role we've kind of been taught to dread, not learn from.
But the reality, especially today, is completely different. A better way to think about them is as doctors for your business. They're not just looking for past mistakes, they're diagnosing risks to prevent, the corporate equivalent of a heart attack.
And I really want to be clear here. These 5 principles, they are not just for auditors. They are strategic tools for anyone who builds products, manages a team, or runs a business. This is about making smarter decisions, period.
So, let's get into our first big secret. It's a really simple idea, but it's what separates the amateurs from the pros because it completely changes where you even begin. Okay, so here's the fundamental shift. The amateur grabs a giant checklist and tries to look at everything. The professional starts with just one question. Where's the greatest risk here? It's the difference between being busy and being truly effective. You focus your energy on the threats that can actually sink the ship, not the little leaks that just splash some water on the deck.
And this isn't just some vague philosophy. It's a super disciplined 3-step process. First, you map out your audit universe. That's everything you could possibly look at. Then, the important part. You perform a risk assessment on each piece, asking how bad would it be if this broke? And finally, you prioritize. You aim your best resources at your biggest vulnerabilities. It's all about being strategic, not chaotic.
Okay, so if the goal is to focus on real risk, how do you even find it? Well, secret number 2 flips the entire traditional model right on its head.
It's this really powerful idea called control self-assessment, or CSA. Just think about it for a second. Who knows the real weaknesses in a process better than the people who live and breathe it every single day? So instead of an outsider swooping in to find flaws, CSA empowers the team itself to find them first. The auditor's job changes completely, from inspector to facilitator. They become a coach, helping the team strengthen its own game.
And here's why that is such a game changer. The most effective controls aren't lines in some dusty manual that were imposed from above. They're the habits and standards owned by the people doing the work. This one shift transforms the whole dynamic from policing to partnership. When a team owns its own safety net, you better believe they make sure it doesn't have any lulls. All right, let's talk about something we all use and trust, data backups. You see that little backup successful notification and you feel safe, right? Protected. But do we actually understand its real role in our defense strategy?
I want you to really think about this for a second. Does backing up your data actually prevent a disaster, like a ransomware attack or someone accidentally deleting a critical file, from happening in the first place?
The answer, from a professional auditor's perspective, is a very clear, very loud no. And understanding why is absolutely critical to building a real defense.
See, your backup is what we call a corrective control. It's not the lock on your front door. It's the insurance policy you cash in after your house has been robbed. It does nothing to stop the break-in. It just helps you recover from the loss.
And this table just illustrates it perfectly. You need all 3 types of controls for a strong defense. Preventative controls are your walls and your locks. Detective controls are your alarm systems. And corrective controls, that's your fire department and your insurance policy. A truly strong business doesn't just get good at cleaning up disasters. It invests heavily in preventing them and detecting them early. So are your resources balanced correctly across all 3?
So what happens when a professional finds a huge, critical risk that isn't technically their job to find? This next secret, man, it gets to the very heart of what professionalism is all about.
So imagine this scenario. You're an auditor, you're focused on your assigned task, but out of the corner of your eye, you spot a 5-alarm fire burning in the server room next door. Now, finding that fire is not what you were sent there to do, but it is a massive problem.
Now you've got a real dilemma. Do you stick rigidly to your plan and just pretend you didn't see the danger? Or do you abandon your assignment and go fight this new fire? Turns out, neither one is the right answer.
This is what being a pro really looks like. You don't abandon your post, but you absolutely have a duty to sound the alarm. The correct move is to do a quick review, document the danger, and then formally recommend that a dedicated team tackle it. Because honestly, in a healthy organization, "that's not my job" is probably the most dangerous phrase you can ever say when the whole enterprise is at risk.
And that brings us to our 5th and final secret.
Let's look at how auditing itself is changing to keep up with the insane speed of modern business, because the old ways just can't hang anymore.
Traditional auditing was like a waterfall. This long, slow, rigid process. A massive report would land on a manager's desk 6 months later, pointing out problems that were basically ancient history by then. The business had already moved on. The revolution is agile auditing. It borrows from modern software development to deliver value in real time, not in retrospect. The result is a total game changer. Auditing stops being this once-a-year autopsy and becomes a continuous collaborative conversation. Instead of some big final judgment, you get real-time feedback. The business becomes a partner, not a defendant. This weaves risk awareness right into the daily rhythm of the company, making it stronger and smarter with every single sprint. All right, let's tie all these secrets together, because what we've really been describing here isn't just a set of techniques. It's a whole new, powerful mindset for looking at any business, any process, any project.
So when you look at these 5 principles together, you start to see the pattern, right? This isn't about finding fault, it's about building resilience. It's about focusing your energy on real threats, empowering your team, knowing your tools, taking responsibility, and keeping pace with the world. That is the auditor's mindset, and it's basically a blueprint for excellence.
And that right there is the real secret. This whole conversation isn't really just about auditing, it's about a smarter way to think and work. So ask yourself, which one of these principles could you use tomorrow? Because in today's complex world, the ability to see and manage risk isn't just a specialty, it's a superpower.